So we're hoping to finish up planting corn today, as long as weather holds up for us. I haven't been doing good getting any footage on stuff. So this is the Perfecta, the field cultivator, whatever you want to call it. Got a video of plowing. We plow first, then we disc, and we go through the Perfecta. And Dad's been planting corn. I'm going to try and get some corn planting footage on this video as well. Which I gotta stay ahead of them, so it keeps me busy working ground ahead of them. So we put this on the 14 with the dual wheels. It'll float through anything. The 14 doesn't hardly even know it's back there. It's 15 feet, and the dual wheels are pretty well 14 feet, so you just put your dual right beside where you worked. It just loosens the ground up, busts the lumps up after a disc. Like, so the disc, you have your solid clumps that got chopped up, then you come through with the Perfecta, and it just tears them up the rest of the way. You're looking for a nice, smooth field. The less the corn planters jumping around, the better seed placement you get. So that's where, I don't know if you can get a good view. It's kind of lumpy, whereas it gets a lot smoother after the Perfecta goes over it. Kind of show you what it does. So there's depth wheels on it. You set it. We're not working it real deep, just in probably 5 inches. And then there's just rows and rows of teeth. If you look in from the back, they're really only about 6 inches apart. So it just beats the crap out of the ground when it goes through there. And there's a leveling bar, which levels your ridges out. And then the roller baskets, which will bust your lumps up, any lumps that are left, and kind of firms it down a little bit. I'm just gonna go over this corn planter while it's sitting in the barn floor. We're not busy. So the day is working ground. We had 4 fields left to go. We had them worked up, and I got done working that field in the video, and I went to help Dad, and basically trying to make it like pit stops. So we put on a starter fertilizer. It's a 1515. Here. So it's calibrated. We're putting on 300 pound an acre. 2 bins hold about 1,200 pounds. So it would technically go 4 acres, but it's like every 3.5 acres. We have to stop, come back in, fill up with fertilizer, have a tractor and a gravity wagon. So I was like making sure when I saw him coming, I had the tractor running, he'd back in, I'd fill him up, he could get going. Just trying to beat the rain. And it worked out. We didn't beat the rain, but we quit right at the right time. We got 2 of the 4 fields planted that morning. Right on the last field, we set it down. We finished up the center. I was riding with Dad, and this hose here blew, which puts your marker arm down. Not a real big deal. I mean, it happened right at the perfect time. The black cloud was rolling in, so I ripped it off, and then I just put it on here. So now we're waiting for it to dry out, and we'll get those 2 fields, the one I was just working being one of them, worked up again the next time it gets dry. So anyhow, yeah, it's a Deutz Allis planter. It's a 385. Dad bought it in the late 70s. He's been the only guy that ever planted with it. He won't let me touch it. I get to fix it all the time, but don't get to plant corn. I used to have an old John Deere, I guess, before it. This planter's older than me. So this was the first piece of equipment that came with a monitor for back in the day. So the monitor's nothing to it. I guess they thought it was something back end. So like when you get on the tractor, you just turn it on, and then you kick these blowers, and that kicks 2 blowers on, and then all it does, I shut it off, pulling the juice. All it does is there's the 4 rows. Every time a seed drops in front of an eye in the seed tube, it lights up the light. If a light on there doesn't light up in like 3 seconds, it sends off a beeper. So every time he gets to the end of a row, it beeps. But also if he's planting in a row and a chain would break and a seed wouldn't come through, it'd beep at him, and he knows. Or same thing when he starts running low in seed, it'll beep on him. But so yeah, it's not much to it. It's a no-till planter, which means we're putting your fertilizer in, and the idea of the fertilizer, it comes down the tube right here. You got 2 discs that open it up and sets it. And your fertilizer you want down 2 inches and over 2 inches from your corn seed, where it places the corn seed. And then being a no-till, that wavy disc is called a no-till coulter. And that kind of chops the soil up, coming right in front of your seed disc, which is these. And they're the same as the fertilizer, they're V splits. And then these are your closing wheels. So in there, that tube is your seed tube, and then that's where that eye sensor is. Right there's the sensor that sees the seed. And then these are your closing wheels on the floor, which kind of pushes them back together. And then this is just a cap wheel that kind of firms the ground back on top of seed. It is a air planter, so like when I hit the blower button up there on the monitor, kicks these 2 12-volt fans on, and 1 on each side, so each fan does 2 seed boxes. It blows it down here where the seed comes into the plate, and then there's the plate, and you can see they all fell out up in here. But so the seed sits in it, and then the air would be blowing out those holes. But with the air pressure, the seed stays in that hole, and as it comes around to this side, it cuts the air off. So there is air in here, and then there's a pad. The seed gets into that pad, and then once it gets down here and there's no air, it falls out, which you can see, yeah. Those are all full of seeds up there where the pad is, and as soon as it gets out of the pad, it drops it down the tube. And then that's all, both the seed and the fertilizer. You can change your sprockets, there's a whole pile of sprockets. And then these are like for your fertilizer drive, and then these are seed drive over here. And that's just how you change your population or how many pounds of fertilizer you're on. The corn planter had insecticide boxes, which I remember as a kid using them a little bit, but they just sat in here, and then, which they are all off. It used to have like a little Y that sat right here in the tube, and then there's a Y, and it would sprinkle insecticide on top of the row. But now it's called like, you know, your seeds are treated for your insecticides on them now, so it's pretty easy. You just plant corn. That's pretty much, I mean, the corn planter is ground drive, so that's which it have to be to set your speeds. But yeah, it's older planter. It's done good for us. Having a little bit of trouble getting parts for it anymore. Landau actually got the patent, I guess it would be, off of this. It turned into like a Landau like 4000 or something like that. So I had to replace some of those parts, the pads and stuff of the seeds, and I got those off of Landau. We had to get an arm last year, except that kept working. Busted the seed depth wheel arm last year, and we welded that together. We bought the new arm, but kind of one of those things, if it didn't break yet, we're just running with it. And to give you an idea how old the planter is, we also broke this last year. the clevis on the hitch. You can see we welded a plate of steel in there and up there. We flipped it over because it was getting worn, and we were actually on the good side, and we actually wore through the hitch. So we had to rebuild the hitch. That's how long we've had this planter. So it's going on worn out two sides, and it's rebuilt hitch. But yeah, and then there's like a hose of blue, that's for your marker arm. And that just sits down, and then when you drop your planter, it varies. Either every other time, the other one drops because you just go back and forth in your cornfield. So then that tells you where to put your front tire of your tractor. That way your rows are spaced 30-inch rows. So then that way from this row right here, when you turn around and you're driving on your track, it puts that row right 30 inches over from where it was at the same time. That you keep your whole field looking uniform. Nowadays they have stuff like GPS and don't use marker arms, but we're still in the old stages, but it works, so there's nothing the matter with it. But yeah, so I will get some footage of the planter going, hopefully, once we get the weather and get back out there. Cap and wheel puts a nice little cap on it.